first point defense on Assault when you want the res coming out of the Mercy. It's a great pickup to put alongside her.
Both teams looking like they're going to be running with that option, of course. The damage boost onto Widowmaker so potent. You can sometimes miss out on the headshots in favor of the body shots because you're going to deal enough damage for someone a little bit more mobile, say Jonah on the Sombra, to come around and finish off those kills because you're never going to see him coming.
I'm interested to know if he's coming in more as a scouting pick here, or if they actually want to roll out with the Sombra, because the problem with this team is that you'll have Junkrat on the lower ground generally, you'll have Soon playing on that Widowmaker up on the higher ground. You're still behind the shield because of the angles that you have, but you're so safe and it's incredibly hard to get there. So for the Netherlands, if they scout this comp out, I expect to see pretty much a full dive comp coming through. So maybe we see Jonah switch over and play something like the Tracer. Most importantly of all though, we're seeing them come out so far with Crusade on the Widowmaker, which I didn't really expect.
I was expecting if he's going to play any DPS, he talks a big game about his Pharah.
He does.
So maybe
Ooh,
he knows how to take down a Pharah soon. So unfortunate for Facility, but you can see this is why he's favoured as a really good Widowmaker with Overwatch. And he's just taking the Netherlands to town. They're struggling to get out of their spawn room, so whatever they had planned has just been thrown to the wind.
Soon saying, so you want to settle up against an Overwatch League Widowmaker, huh? I'll show you how it's done. Well, you've already seen the picks coming out at the start. That's going to burn a good 30 seconds off the clock of Netherlands' attack.
I mean, let's be fair, it was a DPS main going up against a support Widowmaker. So let's not cut it off, but he's still taking out Crusade and Saab. The Netherlands just can't break through this defense in the moment. Facility buys himself a second life with the deflect, but that can only last for so long. Unco, AKM, and Ben Best must be so bored right now.
There is nothing to do because the tank's like, come on guys, let's go. They can't even breathe, it feels, on the way out. Soon has already got the ultimate online as well. If he wants to pop that here and become even more oppressive, now's a great time.
He needs to pop it because Jonah's been sat in the back line of France the entire time. He pops that, they're going to know he's there, and they might turn around and do something about it. He's going down a little bit low. They're still trying to contend them from distance. Soon able to get all the healing he needs. Going to retreat back, so finally they're allowed to come in. Wins, gets hacked, but he jumps up, drops straight down to the floor, and Jonah's got nowhere to go.
Yeah, pretty dead there. AKM had his number the whole way through. Oh,
Soon again.
These entry picks are insane coming out of this guy, just stopping Netherlands even being able to breathe or progress, and it's only building more ult charge up for Team France. Netherlands, they're barely getting a look in, and Jonah is like, you know what, Sombra? Not really working out for us here. We need more mobility. Let's go across to the Tracer.
And this was the Dutch map pick, Des. The loser of the previous map picks the next one.
To be honest, you don't go into a map thinking, well, soon he's literally going to body us as we walk out the spawn door the whole game. And I've got to say, good work by our Poco as well. He's been blocking these shots the whole time and pinning up kills when he knows his Widowmaker is safe. So they may not be on the same team, but the synergy is there.
And he's been dealing great secondary fire. You saw the burst damage come out from Soon with the charged shot as Korn jumped up there on the Winston, and it just took a couple of Diva micro missiles and a little bit of a few shots just to take him out as well. They're starting to group together, using the shields more reliably. They're getting further and further and closer to taking the archway, Des. We're not even talking about taking the point. Just getting through the arch is its own challenge in itself against the dead-eye shot of Soon. And they're in cover. They've got a little bit of time. Facility going to lead the charge. He's going to be there in the front with the deflect. So Korn jumping in. He did have that anti-healing on him, so he's not going to get the healing up. That's it for the side. Soon's on the point itself, going up into the sky. He's got a clear line of sight. Multiple members. Poco, meanwhile, he's got himself a nano boost. He's going to charge on. Facility pops the Dragon Blade, immediately shut down. The Riptide comes in to find no one on the kill. France still very much in control of this match.
Insane defense coming out on this first point. Soon has probably touched that top higher ground once. He's playing that aggressively and still finding all those big opening kills. And I've got to say for Netherlands, it's got to feel like playing competitive in this case, because every single time they try and step forward off to the left, they're getting picked off. There's a bit of desync between the tanks and keeping the supports alive to actually be able to stage an assault. And so far, the only thing we've seen come out of them is a play from Facility. That was immediately shut down. That's what you want to see, but the res is there, and this is why you bring a Mercy to the first point.
Well, it's bought them a little bit of time to press forward, so the arch isn't going to be a challenge for them. If they're going to make it on this push, it was now until Soon comes back and puts another notch on his barrel. There's a sleeping target, Saab on the back line, takes out Crusade, moves forward, finds Saab. Soon's putting Team France on his back at the moment. He's been doing it all game, and now he's putting in the final nail in the coffin.
You can hear the crowd as well.
They're yelling Soon as he's getting the kills. What else are you going to chant at this point? It is literally the Soon show on Anubis.
Bar that pickoff from Jonah onto him, Soon has had a 4-minute masterclass in Widow to deliver not only to the Team Netherlands side, but to everyone here witnessing this momentous moment. They're going for it. They've managed to get a couple of pickoffs coming through, only the ultimate so far, but they've got to start securing kills here. Netherlands are done.
Self-destruct going over the top. Korn did get a primal rage kill onto AKM. Poco turning it back onto Bruce, and Bembest going low. He's trapped in a bubble with multiple members of Netherlands. Poco seems to be the only person remaining on that point. He's been nano boosted. Now giving some extra damage, extra resistances to get into that fight. Self-destruct in his pocket. Will be able to cut through the transcendence. We have to use it early. Pushing off the edge. Go on, nudge it, nudge it, nudge it. Drops down and gets Crusade. Still making value out of that ultimate despite it not looking so good. But the respawn advantage is in favor of the Netherlands on point A. So they're able to push off France and stay in this map with the stability. However, Facility going down to trap. Riptire in pursuit of the Dutch lineup. Straight onto Jonah. A double kill from AKM might buy France more time to get back into this.
They've just got to keep on stalling. Facility has got that blade and there's no ultimate on side of France to hold that away. But it looks like they've got the clean up. France here, that overtime ticks down. They go for the full hold and they make it work.
It is not looking good for the Netherlands. In fact, with that full hold from France, the Netherlands have actually lost this series already there. So their campaign starts with a loss, but the maps will still come into it. Look at the beautiful shots coming out from Soon, taking everyone out. Crusade missed that first one, goes for Mercy. I don't know why she turned back, and then straight over the top into Saab. Looks for Facility, he's deflecting. He's going to buy himself some more time. Soon, the man of Anubis right there. He's claimed the stake. He's planted the French flag firmly on that high ground, and the Netherlands are going to have to try and move it away, maybe plant one of their own if they're lucky. It doesn't look like they're going to be able to take a win out on this series, but they can still force a draw on this map. They could also potentially look to take the map next, but they're not going to be able to win the series.
Gentle smile on his face as well tells the whole story. He knows in that 4 minutes that he showed up big, and if his team can point at any moment and say, not that you need to, but if we had to justify him being on this team, all you need to do is send them that 4-minute clip of him literally destroying Netherlands. It was, like I said before, like playing competitive because they could not even get out of the spawn doors. They were just constantly being shut down, chased down, and run down by Team France, especially Soon.
I don't think there was ever a question about whether Soon should have been on that roster.
Oh, no.
And if there was anyone who was being a little bit weird about it and go, oh, I'm not too sold on Soon, like you said, Des, just show on that. Done. Questions put to the bed. Both rosters looking very attentively on the screen. A couple of traps set up by Netherlands on the defense. They're running an almost identical defense to what was ran by Team France. Hopefully, it's the same effect. That would be the plan. Soon's going to open up with that Widowmaker. He may pick off Jonah, make sure the Resurrection doesn't come out, and then change off to something more in line with the composition. Or he might just stay on it and look to contend that high ground and just rain down hell onto the point.
I think the scariest thing about this French side is that you could take them and probably slot them into Owl, and with the quality of players they've already got with 4 players there, Bembest and Wins are by no means looking like any weak link in this team. The problem that you now have for any other team is, who do you point out and say, well, this guy maybe is the weakness in their team that other teams need to exploit? I can't pick it on out and say they're a problem for this team at all.
At the moment, no, we're going to have a quick pause, and Soon, like I said, switching over to the Tracer. So it was just to initially contend Jonah, put a bit of pressure on him, knock him off that high ground, make sure that he can't do what Soon did on the previous attempt.
Same con coming on the defensive side for Netherlands as what we saw France pull out now. You've got a high bar to try and meet if you want to execute it to the same quality that we saw France come out with. And on the French side, they're going for dives. They're just saying, you know what, try nothing too special here. We're just going to go in, we're going to bring them down, and that's how it's going to end. Not even a Widow on the board for them right now.
Going to completely ignore them. Hopefully, they're going to get AKM up there with one of his patented Genji blades. And
hopefully not a 3-minute 45 charge time, right?
Hopefully not, but maybe we'll speed the process up a little bit, get it going, and get himself up in the face of Jonah, because he's probably the one to contest along with some of the tanks if they're going for the dive option as well, because I can't see Soon somehow climbing up there. Tracer, not known for vertical mobility.
Yeah, and the problem you've got to consider here is with Ana coming into the meta as well, that it does displace things like the Zen, and often a big counter coming through against the blade coming out of the Genji is something like a Lucio or the Zen Transcendence. That's not on side here. They're going to have to solo nano boost a target to give them 300 HP and just say, please don't die to this blade. The problem that we saw earlier on is that basically it doesn't matter. You got the damage boost coming through from the nano boost onto the Genji. He's going to do more than enough damage to clean up through this team with nothing really defensive to stop him. That's all France are playing for. That is their win condition. Again, hopefully it's not a 3-minute 45 blade, but with how well these guys are playing, it's going to be, it could potentially be over and done in a minute or so.
It depends how good your Ana is. Get that sleep dart in, shut down a Nano Genji all together, and I know Ana mains live for that moment to shut down a Nano booster, because it's not typically not one ultimate you're getting rid of. You're getting rid of 2 ultimates. It's definitely huge value from a, I want to cool down a sleep dart like 8 seconds, 7 seconds.
It's not too long, by the way.
Yeah, nothing great. Just a little pause going on. We're looking to get back into the game shortly. We don't currently know what the issue is. I'm sure we'll get told if it becomes relevant or important. Maybe sometimes we're just kept in the dark, Des. I don't know.
Just taking a breather, just like, okay, lots of hype in this crowd, lots of hype in the arena itself. got to compose ourselves. Netherlands, again, these are the guys who are sat here right now with their backs against the wall. They've only got a full hold this map. They've then got to turn the series around and reverse sweep it. And we were speaking before the series even began, saying, what might we see here? What might actually be the case for these two teams coming against each other? And we thought, well, Netherlands said the first two maps are their strongest, so ideally, they come into the half 2-0 up, and then we see France come back into things in the second half. No need right now. France definitely justifying themselves not only as the host country, but why they are being pegged by analysts, players, and fans alike as one of the two teams to make it out of this group.
Some of them even peg them as the top seed, not even one of the top two. I mean, UK, particularly Christopher, might have some words to say about that. He was very vocal about UK dominance and, well, everyone else just underperforming massively. Just getting notification we're about to jump back into game. So less of us, more of the action. Let's get it on. Netherlands, France, third map. Well, we've already said Netherlands cannot win this series any longer. Best they can do is hope to draw this map and make a really awkward map difference for France. They're on the offense and they're going full dive with that Genji Tracer combination.
They're already stolen away into the left there, so no stall coming out of Yona yet. Now they're going to try and dive back in themselves and just try and prevent this from really taking off. You can see the Netherlands are playing quite defensively so far. Great knowledge maker in there as well, knowing that where their shot will come through. They're going to get one target. They've already found Facility. That's it, Trid. This should already be it because they've lost so much damage from that one pickup.
Deux. Trois.
We're counting in French now.
Yeah, counting in French, but I don't know more than three, so I can't go any further. It's looking like France are able to get majority control. Just need to burn through a few more targets. Brusen doing a lot of work to get a D-Mech and take out the tank line. Wings comes in with a sound wave to clear out Brusen. Soon, just going to spray down a couple of targets. They only need to get 33%. Sending in the Wrecking Ball, Korn coming in just for the ability. He absolutely annihilates Soon. And Vasily comes in with the mine to blow them up as well. So he might have actually been able to come back with what was seen as a stall pick. The kill feed still being quite balanced for the time being, but they're looking to tip it in the favor of France. AKM pulls out the blade. But, you know, he managed to get it so fast that he didn't have enough time to use it with the 33%.
Well, there you go, confirmed. France have the win in this series in the first one against Netherlands. And I'd say it was a decisive win in that second round. It was all that and more, incredibly quick. AKM pulling out the blade at the end was just like, guys, just run away. There is no point in trying to stand here anymore. We've all seen how this goes in the Overwatch League.
Wow. I mean, have we seen many AKM blades in the Overwatch League?
I imagine we've seen a few.
Seen a few. Not as many as we could do.
Not as many as we could do, but one apparently is all it takes.
And 1 point was all they needed. 33% on point A was enough to win them out that assault map. So, series, without doubt, going over to France. We're going to have one more map for you because that map difference, as we saw in Bangkok, can make all the difference if we have a hotly contested second, third, fourth place seeding at the end of the group stage. And by all accounts, Germany is one of those teams that might be looking to contend against UK and France. So if Netherlands takes a map here, they could actually spell doom for them and really hurt them in the long run.
It can count. As you say, we saw it in Bangkok. It's just something that you have to be very aware of. And I think for France, the worst thing they can do here is get complacent and think the series is ours. Yeah, we can take the foot off the gas a bit here, maybe bring out some other comps and experiment a bit more if we have to. Don't do that. Just go and clean this up now. Take the 4-0. And for Netherlands, treat this game as a serious game as well. And naturally, no reason why they shouldn't. But keep on thinking this is the experience. You're on stage. Now's your time to warm up. Get used to this French crowd. Get used to the competitive environment you find yourself in so that future series can be a bit more promising for them.
I mean, Netherlands have had it hard. Like I said, they're going in their first game against the French crowd. They're obviously going to be very vocal for their hometown heroes. So they're getting that out of the way very early, but they're going to move further on down the series. They're not going to play against France again. Final map, no surprise if you've been watching the previous group stages. It's Rialto. It's an escort type. And if you're new, here's a quick video to explain to you how exactly that's going to work.
This is escort. Two teams face off as either defenders or attackers. This is the payload. The attacking team has a limited amount of time to escort the payload along a set path containing 3 checkpoints. The payload only moves forward when an attacker stands near it. Defenders can delay the payload's movement by standing nearby at the same time. To get moving again, attackers must clear away the defenders by force. Every time the payload reaches a checkpoint, the attackers score 1 point and gain additional time on the clock. If even one attacker is near the payload when the clock runs out, the game enters overtime. This extends play indefinitely until the attackers are either cleared off the payload or they gain more time by reaching a checkpoint. The round ends when the payload reaches the destination or when time runs out. Teams switch sides each round. Whichever team scores the most points and escorts the payload farthest wins.
Now, to Rialto is the final map we're coming to. 60% map pick percentage as well across all of the group stages so far. Comes as no surprise to anyone.
Everyone seems to love Rialto. It's the most recent map to be released. Everyone seems to love it. Good job, Blizzard and the dev team over in Irvine.
Definitely, and I think as well one thing to consider about this map is that you still discover new things all the time. We've seen teams contending, innovating up to the final week in contenders, bringing out new strats, surprising teams all the time. And I won't be surprised if in the build to the World Cup we do see a couple of new things employed here. But it's quite normal on the first point. We've seen teams go for things like full holds. We've seen Bastion setups come out. We've seen Torbjorn setups. You've seen Pharahs, Widowmakers, you name it. Again, it's one of those maps where you can see quite a bit of flexibility, which just pertains again to the innovation we're seeing come out on this map.
Two of the biggest innovators in European contenders especially have been Young and Beautiful,
Best team,
and also Eagle Gaming. Nico's
team.
Also the French team, which I'm sure they will have a lot of cooperation coming into this group stage. What we see from Eagle Gaming, or we first saw it from Eagle Gaming, was the full hold at the door. They ran quad tank, held it at the door, made sure no one could get through. And we've seen that a couple of times from multiple national teams on the group stages. I don't know if Eagle were the first ones to do it. Definitely the first times we saw it. Then, of course, Young and Beautiful, they ran a double high ground strategy. So they weren't really fighting over the bridge. They were looking to fight in the courtyard area on the first point. And that was very successful for them. You've got to remember, Young and Beautiful were a very middle of the pack team, but they were holding out against some of the stronger teams in their group. So it's a very potent strategy. And
you can see that's just how important coaches and analysts are as well, constantly sinking their time into this to think about what's the best strategy we can employ here. Because I remember speaking to their coach at the time, Promise, and he was saying, this is what teams have settled for, but I'm not convinced it's the best answer. They were still innovating and thinking of new ways. And as you say, when they rolled it out, teams just didn't really know how to react. And you'll see as you get around the first corner into the courtyard where they'll likely hold, if teams choose to employ Orisa, that's what we'll see. Otherwise, it's going to be more of the norm as to what we're used to seeing come out on Rialto.
And considering we're seeing Ben Best be the shot caller for the French roster, I imagine he'll have a lot of influence and potentially bring some of those contender strats to the world stage. Of course, a lot of teams have been adopting them in general, so I don't think it's on Ben Best necessarily to be the one to say, guys, we have to do this. This is the only way. Teams are going to be very open to it anyway. They know that contenders had a better, more time with the current meta. This is closer to what we see in contenders than we did in OWL.
And it's very interesting as well, because you think about the way it's played out, is that when we spoke to Team France, they were saying 3-3 isn't really our forte. Like, we haven't had to play this in Overwatch League at all, really. It's not something we're used to. And they were lucky that they had Nico on side, who is from Eagle Gaming in Europe, one of the strongest, if not the strongest tank team we've got. And there was a lot of knowledge passing going on there. And while you saw on the first map and the second how that came into effect, they just rolled their way through with it. So lots of flexibility coming on the French side as well. There was a few alarm bells for us where they were like, well, we're still warming up, still figuring a few things out. You would never guess it from watching this series. But of course, the true test might come when they come up against one of those stronger teams.
Absolutely, and we're going to see more of those teams later on in the day. There's a little bit of a quick pause before we get into the match, so we're going to have a look at some highlights from the series so far to whet your appetite before we go in for the dessert.
Some of the replays from that first one, Poco doing his work with those self-destructs. As always, it's not just the Overwatch League where he delivers, it's on the World Cup group stage as well. And for AKM, well, what can we say about this map? That was the time when they had the double flanks coming through from the Junkrat and the Pharah on either side. And that's, again, where Netherlands, the composure under chaos that I've mentioned a few times this series that we've missed. And even in this case, nano boost, damage boost, good luck getting through that one. He's going to melt anyone he looks at.
Do you know what I did with that replay then? I wasn't able to do it in the moment. I just looked at the health bar, and it only dropped, I think, at lowest during the actual fight to 198. So there's literally a 2 HP disparity between keeping him at max HP while he's getting that barrage out.
It was just crazy. And I think that Blizzard World was a really good example for France, if nothing else. Just showing their capability in these fights, the little small things within the game of minutia. And I thought this would be the big thing between France and Netherlands because they've scrimmed each other so often. The small differences would be what would count, but then it came down to Soon literally having a 1 versus 6 show and reminding everyone why he is such a prolific Widowmaker player in the Overwatch League.
That's one of the highlights of the World Cup. So if France get to BlizzCon and you're doing like an intro video of the stages so far, you put this Anubis clip in there, definitely coming in as one of the highlights of the World Cup so far.
What more can you say? I think for the whole of France, it's probably a pretty good highlight reel of how well they are playing. And now that one map to round things out is Rialto, the chance again to show, flex the muscles a little bit more, show something else to bring to the table, or they can just go normal and keep on hiding away any secrets they've got.
Well, we don't want to flex the muscles too hard because you can obviously get strained, you might cause an injury, and we don't want to be dropping a map here with France, okay? You're 3-0 up at the moment, quite dominant coming into the series, you're in front of your home crowd. Dominance is what you want across this entire group stage, and if you're dropping a map in your first series against a team that we're not contending, not necessarily considering a top contender, then you're doing something wrong to keep up with that spirit. Ben Best, we've spoken a lot about him, we have a lot of praise for this guy, obviously from contenders. He's been fantastic this series so far. He's holding his own, so well in that main tank and what's the correct terminology? IGL, in-game lead role, shall we say.
IGL, as they call it, in-game leader, absolutely. And I think for Ben, it's been that kind of curse of contenders in a way, where there's a lot of changes going on in rosters all the time. Players are jumping around, getting Overwatch League offers, for example. And I think he hasn't really had the chance to show what he's made of. But on this roster, admittedly surrounded by 4 Overwatch League players, he's still, again, holding up and showing everyone what he's made of. He's not the weakness in the team in the front line where the shield's down at the wrong time, where he's not blocking ultimates, where he's not consistently winning out duels against the enemy Rhine. Let's not forget that Overwatch is, at its core, a team game. You cannot really be a solo carry unless you're like Soon, in which case you're a god-tier Widowmaker and can 1 versus 6. But for the most part, it does come down to a bit of team synergy and coordination. And Ben Best has been calling those shots well, making sure the team are backing him up and making sure they are consistently winning these fights.
Wins has been surprising as well. A lot of people had the expectation that being out of the competitive game for so long would cause some issues. Nice little stare going on. I'm not sure he knows which camera to look at the moment. That's fine. He can just gaze off into the distance. You had it right the first time, not the second. But back on the point I was making, Wins not been as much of a deficit as some were expecting coming into this one. He's been playing quite well with the team, holding his own against teams that are players that are more experienced on the competitive roster. Uber said it in the intro or the preview to this as well, is that he's been out of the game for a year. You know, what do you expect from a player? But he's holding his own. That's the most important thing.
When we spoke to him as well, he said, you know, people think I've been out of the game. I've been grinding every single day. Like, just because I haven't really been playing so much in terms of competitive levels, I've still been playing the hell out of this game. I'm ready for this. I'm by no means rusty. Watch me shine. And as said earlier on, he'd been delivering alongside Unco with those big ultimates to save the team from full team wipes when ultimates have come out.
Vizility's had a bit of a muted day, I'd say, so far. Someone we're pegging as the star player of the Netherlands, and not really had an opportunity against such a dominant French side to really show what this guy is capable of. So more to come from him later on in this group stage. But for now, I think just against the caliber of competition, it is making it quite difficult to shine.
It's the same with the full roster, you could argue, though, is that none of them have really shown their best yet because they are against such a dominant team. And one small little fun fact we've got actually about Netherlands is they spent last year comming in English. This year, it's in Dutch. They've switched over to their native language. Most interestingly, they then said that actually, some of the time we do come in English. We slide the odd word in there that's quicker to say in English than it is in Dutch. It just works out really well for us. They feel more comfortable. But as I said, this is a big stage. And they even said to us yesterday, you know, we feel a bit nervous coming into this, no lie. There is a big French audience sat right in front of us screaming for the French team. It's going to be a bumpy ride. And it has been bumpy. The down tops 3-0. The series is done. But they can still, as said, warm up into this one, get a bit more stage experience. So when it does come to their next series later on, at least they're more prepared.
Absolutely, and we've actually been told what's going on this time, so we're important enough to know now, apparently. It's a monitor issue, they're just fixing it, we should be back into the game shortly. Let's have a look at, shall we say, if you're new to Overwatch, Overwatch has had a meteoric rise with Overwatch League, bringing in loads of new viewers. Also, you might be watching on Disney or ESPN right now as well. You might not know some of the history of this one, so let's take a quick look back at how the World Cup went for, shall we say, Netherlands this time around, before we go into it? Or no, we're going to look at Soon instead. That's fine, we'll deal with Netherlands later. That's just from that one round on Temple of Anubis. Now, 5k damage doesn't look like a lot, but you got to remember, when you see damage stats, most of the time, that's not kills. They're just pounding tanks and getting damage off of them. The critical hit kills, 6 of them. Final blows, 11. Eliminations, 18. Only died twice, both of which were rezzed relatively quickly.
And that crit accuracy, that 17%, I guarantee the majority of that was being landed onto the heads of the supports, because the number of times they'd walk out the gate and either both get killed or one would get picked away, that was just an insta-kill, super easy. And of course, if you have the damage boost coming through as well, it does change things up a little bit. But it was just a very strong performance from him, and those numbers reflect that.
Absolutely. Back onto the Netherlands, though, because I want to get into this. They had a really hard group stage last time. They were at the Katowice group stage, and the way the old format worked, there were 2 groups at each stage. You played a round robin, and if you were in the first place, you went into the upper seed into a playoff match against the second place team of the other group, and vice versa. So, guess who the Netherlands had in their group, Des?
South Korea?
South Korea, yes, the team that ultimately won the World Cup last year. Who was in the other group that ended up in first place?
Yeah, it was Canada, wasn't it?
It was Canada, the second place team from BlizzCon. So let's just say Netherlands had a really rough ride last year. This is definitely a much easier group in comparison to last time. I believe in 2016, it wasn't the Netherlands, it was Benelux, which is a combination, I believe, of Belgium and the Netherlands, maybe another country I'm not quite sure on.
Geography isn't our hot point,
yeah,
clearly, as you
not
can tell,
really.
it's Overwatch.
I can tell you Rialto is based on an Italian architecture, but I can't tell you much beyond that. But Netherlands, they obviously didn't have the best of runs in that early year. A couple of great players that managed to stick around. I think Dante, who was their sub, has been on every roster so far, but they're not certain whether he's going to see any playtime this time around. But a lot of history to the Netherlands roster. France, obviously, having fantastic showings at BlizzCon. They were able to get the BlizzCon last year, I believe, and the year before on a vastly different format. So this team has the precedence to make it again this year around.
I have a lot of staff who have stuck around as well, but that seems to be the story for a lot of teams as it comes into this group stage. Lots to play for, lots to show. But speaking of playing for, we are still in the pause, so we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we will conclude this series between France and Netherlands.
Welcome back to the Overwatch World Cup Paris group stage. We were just about to jump into Rialto. We've had a slight technical issue, so still working out through that. It was a monitor issue with one of the players. We'll be jumping into the game very shortly. But I want to give a quick shout out to some people on Twitter because they've been literally DMing me photos of gnomes. Just no context to it whatsoever. I just check in the requests. I had a look. I was like, oh, what's these notifications? Just a picture of a gnome multiple times. So if you want to do that, keep doing it. It's fine. I'll probably look at them. I might not look at them. Who knows?
It's normally Ed Sheeran. So
it's
you'll
normally
take the
Ed Sheeran.
gnomes.
Gnome is different. We haven't had that one yet. So, innovation on the world stage.
Leprechaun was more my thinking, but we'll go with the gnome. It works as well.
Yeah, the gnomes they've been said to me typically have like ginger beards and ginger facial features and whatnot. So
it matches, right?
Maybe it's the way to go. It's the meta. World Cup is the
meta World Cup. It's all
Heavies
about
were
gnomes.
I mean, you're not much taller than me, so I don't know why the gnome thing.
Because I think because you're a stocky lad, you're a unit,
Yeah,
you've got ginger hair, it just fits, right? Like gnomes aren't really known for being small. They're stocky, they're built.
Yeah, I mean, but if like I was casting next to ZP, the height difference would be very evident. So then maybe you'd highlight that a little bit more. But we're relatively the same height. I mean,
I think it's the stockiness, mate. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, we've had Frodo and Samwise in contenders as well, just because we're hobbits apparently. I mean, people think Jaws and Leg Day are taller, but they're not much taller than we are. They're maybe like an inch or two.
We're going to Mordor. Let's go.
Yeah.
Or it's a Rialto in this case.
Yeah, they'll have to toss me.
Not quite. We are, of course, just waiting to get back into Rialto. Monitor issue just for you guys that are just joining us. Back in there quite soon. In case you've missed most of the Series 1, where have you been? But France are giving a masterclass in how to play Overwatch. 3-0 so far, with soon quite literally 1v6ing the whole of Anubis.
I would go as far as 1v11. 1v10. No, 2v10, because he did have a Mercy res.
There's a rule when you play, generally when you play Widow, if any coach was to watch a VOD back and they saw a Widow just blindly peek, they'd be like, where's your diva? Why are you peeking blind? And Poco, to his merit, was there the whole time that Soon was on the high ground. That Matrix was up, he was body blocking for him. He made sure he stayed alive because he knew that if he went down, suddenly they lose all of that pressure they were applying from the high ground. So it was a team effort. Maybe you could go as far as saying it was 5v7, maybe. Because one of the guys you imagine on France was sat there like, Soon, let us know when you're done cleaning them up, please. We would like to play Overwatch today.
You're just trying to work out the metrics of who was not pulling their weight on Anubis.
Who was doing nothing and who was doing something.
I mean, we saw it on the. We get obviously another view. We get the mini map view, so we could see who was sat at the back, and it was Ben Best. We had Junkrat, AKM at the back as well. There's one more. There's just 3 of them sat at the back. But Jonah was there for the longest time, just sat in the back. We were hoping Infrasites would pop, so we'd be able to get them a little bit of knowledge about where he was. They could just turn around and kill him instantly. Unfortunately, when Netherlands pulled the go button on their push, they just kind of just turned around and killed him anyway.
Well, the game is now back underway. Technical issue has been resolved. We'll be jumping into that one in just a second to see how this series concludes. And as I said earlier on, Rialto is one of those maps where you can have a lot of interesting compositions to start things off. As it stands, it's France rolling out with... That's a quad tank from France. I never thought I would see a time.
Very Eagle Gaming.
Very
Eagle Gaming. So, like I said, that influence, nice little head shake, Soon and Ben Best, they are 100 on that plan. Soon also doing the, well, I guess Ben Best is channeling his inner XQC. They're just doing high sends, spinning around. Soon's doing it as well. I think they're having a little bit of fun, knowing that they've got this first series under wraps. But when it comes to game time, they're going to put the serious mode on.
This is Eagle Gaming in a nutshell. Yeah. Full hold coming through with quad tank. You start off on the left and you just burn your way through. Ben Best's going to start here waiting. I think he's going to go for a fire strike early on just to get some free ult charge. But the team are going to try and pen Netherlands right in here the same way they did on Anubis.
So it looks like we're going to have Ghosts coming out from Netherlands, so 3-3 against the quad tank. Not sure how that one's going to work out. Full hold goes quite well. Nice nade onto Ben Best, no healing, but they're able to turn it around regardless. Soon finding Crusade, shuts down all the mobility and the healing they were going to have in the competition. And already Netherlands going into full retreat, the full hold. They've dug themselves in, and they're ready to keep themselves entrenched.
Bruce goes for the reset. Good reason to as well. Not much use when you are in that many diva form. At least this way, he manages to retain that 20% charge he's built up. So we're already towards 65% towards the coalescence. That could be their big break here, just to try and keep the team alive as they burst out of the gate. The nice thing the Netherlands has here is they can adapt and they can change their comp around as and how they need to. They're sticking with the 3-3 for now, looking for that Brigitte to get a big stun down.
Maybe we'll be able to find that stun. Shout out to Ben Best, spins it around, only finding one. Will be knocked back to coalescence as they cut through the Netherlands. They're pushing forward soon, finding another person, finding Jonah. So no Brigitte. That's a nano boosted Ben Best with the charge to shut him down. Flame strike through the crowd. Route on Surge pulls the rest of the Dutch team together. Korn does get a return kill onto Ben Best. That spawn advantage may come into play with this full hold. France still not in control.
Just as you'd expect from anything French, it feels like the full hold on Rialto seems to be their specialty. Doesn't matter if it's Eagle Gaming, doesn't matter if it's the World Cup side, they're making it work decisively. And here was Ben Best back in as well. He's still not in this fight, so they haven't got the shield.
Well, shatter from Korn, able to knock back Soon. Nice anti-nade. No, it was a nade to boost his healing.
Oh,
Poco with the double, and Soon's coming in with the whole hog as well. What looked like a moment of brilliance for the Dutch lineup has been shut down by France.
And they did not even have Ben Best there. That whole fight was without him, and he's got the shadow online from when he died just before. I can't believe that at 2 minutes in, the Netherlands have still not managed to find a way to break this, even in the face of a 6 versus 5.
Des, we've seen full holds all the time. This shouldn't surprise you if they're running this strategy. AKM finding Crusade, that was after an anti-nade from Unco, the bomb grenade, shutting down all the healing was onto him. He very easily shut him down from that. Another shatter available, Ben Best, hoping to get more than he did from it last time. High ground being taken by the Dutch lineup to try and get out of this initial choke, but they're retreating back into the old habit. Now they're going to push through the shield, waiting for it to expire. Kids against the wall, Ben
alive.
still getting healing. Wants to throw a shatter, grab it on Surge. Double both teams together. Self-destruct. It's round the corner, but a Netherlands not going to find anyone. But Saab gets into the neck. Korn's going to find win. Netherlands, if they're going to break through this defense, it's going to be now. They're doing just that.
It takes them a good solid 2.5 minutes, but Netherlands managed to break the defense. And France not even a defense, really. That was literally a full hold at their spawn gate. And a lot of that came down to the final push there. I think for Saab being on that Zen, when everyone was locked together, having that Discord orb down onto the front line meant those big health pool bodies of France were able to be melted down by the rest of the team with relative ease. Now France get to fight in the courtyard, which is where we see most engagements happen. Out comes the shadow from Core, lands onto a few.
Shatter finds the back line. Return coming in from BeNBest, not as impactful. They've already taken out Soon, and they have a Transcendence to top them up throughout the rest of the fight. They've got to use this opportunity to take out more members of France. And Brusen going in with the bumpers, taking out AKM. This facility gets a D-Mech. Saab going to be the one to finish him off. And of course, Korn, the slap wins around a little bit more as they push on to checkpoint A.
France have got the potential here to stall, as we have seen them do so many times so far. They managed to save points by pushing back in the dying meters. Wins has got hold of his ultimate, Poco has got his too, and we see so many teams hold under this archery with things like Orisa. There's no reason why it can't work with the 3-3 combo.
Nice holding. There comes the Poker Bomb over the top. Shield was in place, keeps everyone alive. Crusade's going to get that sound barrier. He's going to pop BeNBest into the team, and it's going to give an opportunity for Agility to get that Graviton Surge and the self-destruct combination for Brusen to find that triple kill. The Frenchmen are being pushed back. Cap is going to come in for checkpoint A, and Netherlands are still going to be alive on Rialto.
Some very decisive fights coming out of Netherlands after they managed to break through that full hold. France, Poco, I don't think has had a kill so far, a self-destruct so far that hasn't got any kills except for that one we just saw. And Facility and his team are chasing France down. They are trying to stagger them out as best they can to give them all the freedom in the world to push towards the second point.
They wouldn't let BeNBest get that charge back to his team. They leave Saab on the payload. Escort happening for Zenyatta. Going to get a little bit of free distance. Facility just stemming the flow, but most of the Dutch lineup is on fire right now, Des.
It is, and they've got a couple of ultimates to play around with as well. In fact, most of them, all of them are on fire, quite literally at this stage. Now it's a case of whether or not they continue to win these fights. BeNBest with a shadow coming out, catches two.
Catches two, but Transcendence is there to keep everyone alive, apart from Jonah, apparently, who's going to be knocked back around by Wins. Graviton Surge pulling together. Sound barrier is there for everyone, and the rally comes out from Soon to top everyone's armor. Korn off to the side, the payload has stuck on this corner. Graviton Surge pulls them together. Transcendence comes out from Unco, unable to get anything done as the healing's just too strong. Micro missiles, trade out kills against the tanks. There's the self-destruct, try and push everyone away. Poker's going to put some more mobility onto his own. Still finds Saab around Jonah's shield. It's just not big enough to keep them all alive. France have control of the payload, and they've stopped Netherlands here with 1 minute 10 to go.
Got a couple of ultimates coming up to start playing around this as well. France finding their feet once again, clearly a little bit thrown off with that full hold being broken, but since then they've started to win these fights time and time again. Even though the payload's off round a couple of corners, they're still managing to push Netherlands all the way back towards their spawn.
Yeah, they got that Graviton Surge for AKM. Wins got the sound barrier in case things start to go wrong for them. BeNBest already being taken out. Graviton Surge comes in. They're looking to do something with it, but there's no damage. Transcendence is the go button for Netherlands as they press forward. Brusen getting a kill and a D-Mech and another one to boot. Korn's there with a follow-up onto AKM, and Saab committing some support or combat as they push forward to checkpoint B, and they should get this one, Des.
Very, very back and forth for the final map in this series. Perhaps fitting to show that Netherlands have got that capability to shut France down. The problem is the consistency is not really there for them. Yes, they win the occasional fight, but it's not quite strong enough. But here they come for the final fight on towards the second point.
Grab being put in, counter shatter to shut down everyone. Self-destruct in the middle of the crowd. They're going to have a boop that pushed them to the side, but it actually saved them, I think, because they were behind the shield of BeNBest when they weren't in the past. Self-destruct will still get the D-Mech on the Poco, who will jump off the side of the map. Netherlands still having their point contested by Wins. He's going to back off, moving on to the final phase of Rialto offense.
Here in Europe, we have something called the Giganti Bomb, where you have that Graviton Surge down, catching everyone out. Your Reinhardt charges the enemy Reinhardt out the way to make sure there is no shield to protect and everyone goes down. Problem there was that Wins had the sound barrier active as well, of course, on this patch, giving a lot of healing. 750 shield, I think, is what it's delivering. So in his case, well, that's going to be able to sustain a lot of the damage from the fall-off from D.Va's self-destruct. And they found themselves in the situation where actually they were still alive and managed to fight back, but by then, Netherlands had pushed forward and caught off crucial members. They're getting towards this entryway to the third point, but how comes another Graviton Surge?
Just hoping to shut down the momentum from that Earth Shatter from Korn. It's done just that. Saab, however, still finding BeNBest as Facility takes out Unco, and he has the Transcendence. That could have been big for France staying alive in this fight. Now it's all about having an economy push here from the Dutch. They don't want to commit ultimates, but they want to start getting progress on the board and maintain the ult advantage they're building for themselves if they're looking to complete Rialto.
Facility has got another Graviton Surge as well. Have one at the final fight at that second point. Now could be the time to use it. 4 ultimates coming online, and Unko, he is the magic man here. He has got that Transcendence. Sound Barrier not too far away from wins either, but this is going to be an explosive final fight, Triv.
A lot of ultimates on the board. Facility pushing forward. He wants to get that grab search well away from the point. He's going to burn down wins, but Unko comes out with the Transcendence away from the rest of his team. So he's only going to save one with that Brusen, borrowing that self-destruct to find AKM on the back line. Spawn advantage heavily in favor of France. So if they don't wipe, they're not going to be able to do this one. Des Unko taking out Yona, and Vedbest on the back line, building toward that Earth Shatter. That's a high charge Facility on the point. He's being knocked around, smacked around, as soon gets the D-Mech on the Brusen. Wins comes in with a kill. Netherlands have been pushed back. France have the advantage. It's not looking good for them.
They're in overtime as well, so all France have to do is push them back for a second or two, and this map is done. And as it stands, they're doing work. Korn is down, the front line has collapsed with Unko getting that kill. The Transcendence is there, but it's a bit too late, Trid.
Crusade was able to get round to the side and make sure that the overtime is still ticking down. Self-destruct goes up high. Crusade is not going to be able to do anything about that. Overtime's going to tick down, and France stop the Netherlands just shy of completion.
And now we get to see the reverse come through. And Netherlands, that was a pretty good push getting towards almost the end of the map there. When they had that full hold coming through for 2.5 minutes, it didn't look promising, but they showed us what they're made of in the second and third points. Managed to fight France back and win decisively a few fights back to back, which is, I think, a big turning point for them, because throughout the series we said they're not consistently winning fights. After they broke that full hold, they had 3 fights on the bounce that went their way. They pushed pretty much solidly from the start point all the way through to the second corner of the second point. Just couldn't get it much further than that.
Without the completion of that map, we know this is the final round of this series. It cannot go any further. There are rarely any, well, there's never a tie in an escort map. It's designed that way. You just can't have it.
It can happen.
It can?
It can happen
Explain.
on things like Junkertown. When the animation gets frozen at the door,
okay,
it can still push through, and if it doesn't move anywhere, it can end as a try, end as a tie.
Today I learned
it's a
with
very,
Destitute.
very niche situation, very rare, very highly unlikely to see it happen in competitive play, but it can happen.
Yeah, today I learned with Dr. Des. Not a medical doctor.
I was about to say,
what's your degree in, your thesis?
It's computer games programming, so I'm afraid I'm not a doctor.
But could you, if you were going to be a doctor though, what would be a PhD line for you? Doctorate.
I have no idea. A doctorate of what? Or a doctor of what? There's no PhDs available in Overwatch, sadly.
There's not, but you could do something related to Overwatch. You could be a doctor of quad tank.
Doctor of quad tank. I think that's already been given to Eagle Gaming with the way they play, and to be fair with France
Coach
as well.
Fefe.
Coach Fefe. He's got the numbers down, man. He knows what he's doing with that quad tank.
All right, so we're looking at a similar stall here from Netherlands. They're going to move on. Hopefully going to press forward against that door and try and do what France did to them. France, I think, are slightly more prepared for it. Already got that Zenyatta on the go with wins on the Ana, so a very deadly support combination. It's very circumstantial depending on the map.
Wins hasn't actually played Ana too much this series either. I was kind of surprised because we'll talk about a burst out of the gate. They're trying to stop them right here.
Well, this is what we kind of expected from the Netherlands already.
Great nades.
Great nade is shutting down all the healing, and they've lost Paul already. This is not what you want to be doing if you're looking for the full hold already. France have an advantage. They just need to seal the deal by getting a couple more picks. You can see Korn, Brusen going off to the side. You can't get any healing. D-Mechs come out. France have got control of this one. They're not going to be held to the same standards they were on their defense.
Absolutely not. And it's very interesting seeing the variety of goats decide to seek them out, because during Season 2 at Contenders, it was always down to either Moira or Zen. Do you want to melt tanks, or do you want to survive through a long fight? Now we see things like the Ana getting brought out, and that was exactly the win condition that France were playing for. So many players have said, if you miss the nade, you're done. They're going to steamroll you. Ana cannot outdo the healing coming out of someone like a Moira, or the damage enablement coming out of the Zen, so you will just lose. But they landed it onto crucial members. Crusade got caught, and most importantly, Korn got caught. So if there's no healing, France had the go button. They go through and steamroll through, already making their way towards the second point, and Korn's charging away. They know they can't take this fight right now.
Yeah, and you were speaking of being caught, Crusade, caught out by a flame strike. Unfortunately, it's going to put everyone on the back foot. Nice shatter, blocked out by the shield, but Poco's able to weave it behind to get Facility and Korn. No one's able to touch. They're sending Leona and Crusade as fast as they can towards the payload to force out some kind of overtime, but it's so scrappy, it's so raw, and it's just chowed down and cooked by France.
Decisive first point push, then now 5 minutes in the time back to push on towards the second. Not really one of the hardest to take points, you might say, so they should be able to roll their way through and take this one as well. The real crunch comes down when you get towards that third point, knowing that France, as long as they complete this map, they win the series 4-0, or they fall just short and Netherlands take it out 3-1.
More of them on the payload. They're not going for a very aggressive forward push like the Netherlands did, but I think that's down to the circumstance of the situation. They really need to chase. Not Poco, just going to scout out, see if there's any changes, retreat back to the team, and AKM, I think he's going to hold them up high here with the Graviton Surge. They try to come through the entrance. It would be a good play, but they're not committing to it themselves. Going to go around underneath the bridge.
Get behind the bridge, potentially. There he goes, got it.
Put them together, not much charge, 5%, but the rest of his team's able to deal some damage soon. Find Saab, they're going to cut down corners. He tries to get back with his team. Using D-Max, and that's going to Jonah coming over. France, doesn't seem to be any breaks on this French train.
They managed to clean their way through once again. Unstoppable, this French train that is just storming its way through Rialto streets. 4 minutes left on the clock, and they're already getting towards this fight for the second point. I think for Netherlands, it was about a minute and a half they had to try and fight over that third point. And yes, they won the first fight. They just couldn't close it out when it mattered most. And France, they've got ultimates online to play with. However, they're coming up against 6 ultimates on the side of the Netherlands.
Could be big for the Dutchman if they can get the combo right, but the self-destruct in the backline should cause chaos as corners Crusader victims to the explosion. And the madman Poco gonna do it, but Brusen trying to channel just a portion of that energy will only find Ben best. France still have the man advantage. They're pushing on the backline soon, just able to take out Saab with no competition from the Dutchman, and French are just going to keep on moving forward.
It's again, I'm going to keep on saying it because it's very true for Netherlands, that composure under chaos there, a very scrappy fight, trying to get back onto the point. The best call maybe would have been to pull back momentarily and say, this point is done, let's not give them any more free ground and try and take a fight before they get through the archway. But instead, they threw bodies at the point. You saw Korn come charging through at the end there in a desperate bid to try and turn the 3 versus 6 into a win. All he did in the end, though, was donate free ult charge over to France.
Ult charge what they got. Win, sound barrier, Graviton Surge available for the French Rockets. Horn still got that Earth Shatter, and everything in the last fight, they're going to move forward onto the Graviton Surge. No counter shatter just yet, they're going low, trying to find the angle of Unco. Will find corners, he explodes his back to the Zenyatas. Ben Best finds the double. They're pushing forward, they're about to end this map.
They absolutely are. This is exactly what we saw the Netherlands try to do on their push, but could not make it work. France with a few minutes to go, no one to contest. They will round this series out 4-0.
No need to call Poirot. The murder on the Rialto Express was clearly done by the French roster, unable to stop them, and it was such a one-sided Rialto eventually when it came down to it. Netherlands going for the same defensive hold, trying to put it off, just couldn't find the same success. So the French campaign to BlizzCon, they've passed over that first hill. There's a couple more down the line to go, but they've got to be happy to win on home soil.
And I think whether you're the French team or the fans at home or the fans in the arena, of course, you've got to be very convinced by that performance. Other teams will be looking at this and thinking, well, these guys didn't feel 100% coming into this. That's our time to shine and take a game away from them. Netherlands couldn't even take a single map, and yes, they managed to get themselves a few points on the board. Sadly, points don't equal maps all the time, or never really. You still need to make sure you've got more than them. But France, again, very decisive. That's the team that we all expected to see coming into this group stage.
And those camera shots you're seeing don't do the crowd justice. It goes back multiple tiers. There are a lot more people in that audience than you think there are from that image. So that's very loud in there. Netherlands, they had to put up with it. They don't have to deal fighting against the home crowd again. They get more ramped up tomorrow and Sunday. We just don't know, Des, but let's let them regroup, come back. They've got another game today. I believe it's against Italy later on this afternoon. Who knows? We'll have a look at the schedule in a bit anyway. But they've got another match today, and hopefully they can come back a little bit more composed and not having to deal with the stress of playing against the home crowd.
Exactly. That's a part of it, I think, as well. But you've still got a large crowd in front of you, regardless of who they're cheering for. So maybe you want to be aware of later on. But again, some promising signs out of Netherlands, especially on Rialto. They started chaining those back-to-back fight wins against one of the strongest teams in this group stage. It's promising. Now they've just got to try and translate that into wins against other teams, because already now you can say it's going to be very hard for them to take that first spot away from France. They're going to be fighting for second here, if nothing else.
Well, let's hear from the man himself. He popped up on Anubis. We're going to have Malik having a quick chat with Soon.
Thank you very much, guys. I am here with the one and only Sue, who just had an amazing match and led Team France to victory. Sue, first question for you. You guys did a lot of scrimming against the Netherlands. Am I right about that? Did a little bit of scrimming against the Netherlands?
Yeah, we scrim a lot of teams.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to finish that off. That's a two-part question, don't worry. All right, so What was the biggest difference playing against the Netherlands on stage as opposed to playing against them in practice?
They are pretty good in practice, especially in Netherlands. But when we play on stage, I feel like they're not experienced enough. I feel the pressure for them, especially for the French crowd, maybe. But
Hey, give them some love.
But yeah, Netherlands for me was one of the best teams in the group. So I hope them good luck for them because they're really good and just play their game.
Okay, so I'm going to translate for the French crowd, Malik here. Donc la question c'était comment est-ce que c'était de jouer contre l'équipe de Hollande en scrim avant, comment ça s'était passé. Ils disent que c'est une équipe qui était très forte finalement, mais que sur scène ils avaient un peu moins d'expérience et que clairement ça s'est ressenti dans la game et c'est pour ça qu'ils en sont sortis gagnants et ils leur souhaitent évidemment bonne chance pour la suite. So I have a question, me. I'm gonna do it in English first, and then I'm gonna translate in French.
Go for it, Louis.
So the question is, like, we all see these enemies, like, we saw that was insane. Like, every shot you hit, every people in the crowd was crazy. How it feels to just spawn kill the team on the stage with everybody just shouting out every kill you made. Donc, comment c'était de jouer sur Anubis? À chaque fois, t'as touché, à chaque fois que tu tuais quelqu'un dans la game, tout le monde criait. Comment est-ce que tu t'es ressenti?
En français?
You can do in French. I will translate if you want.
At this moment, when I do one pick, it's pretty easy for Widow to still pop off because they need to spawn back and Diva need to protect. I think I was lucky to have some good shots and.
It was maybe insane, not lucky. I don't know.
Raw skill.
I would like bad boss. Yeah, his boss.
Bon, en français, vous savez ce qu'il a répondu. Il fallait y faire des shots. Il a réussi à trouver les premiers shots. Derrière, la Diva était obligée de protéger, de faire du peeling. Il a réussi à prendre les shots après shot. Il a quand même été assez incroyable, je pense. He was insane, right? Definitely. That was maybe the best Anubis in the World Cup ever played.
Probably, maybe.
Indeed, indeed. Well, thank you very much, Soon, for your
Thank you,
time.
Soon.
Guys, give it up for him one more time. Thank you very much, Ludi.
Thank you, Mike.
He's going to be helping us with the translations all day long. But anyways, guys, there's a lot to unpack with that match we just saw. So let's go ahead and send things back on over to the casters.
Thanks very much, Malik, and interesting words there from Soon. Obviously, in front of the home crowd, he's got to love the energy that's being in that room right now.
I mean, it's one of those things that you feast off, and all the guys and Team France have said this as well, that having that home crowd there, backing your every play you make, hearing them cheer, you'll hear it because it's a bloody loud noise coming from them. It's just going to stir you on to do more and more, and with a 4-0 behind you, you're going to have more of that in future, no doubt. This crowd are backing them all the way. They could be down 0-4. They'll still scream their names.
We've already seen the highlights from maps 1 to 3. Let's take a quick look at how map 4 went down. It will be very quick because obviously ended quite quickly. So let's have a look at the map 4 highlights on your screen right now. Gonna have a nice pogo bomb to kick things off. Jonah and Facility being the victims of that one that time around. And let's see what Bruceson could do when he throws it into the mix as well. That's a triple kill for him. So not to be outdone by the Diva Bomb Master himself.
Absolutely not. And I said to when it actually happened at the time that Poco only had one self-destruct in that whole series, which didn't really net any kills. And it was on this final map. Every single time he was throwing it out, he was getting value out of it. It wasn't just to create space, it was securing kills as well. And that's the thing that you sometimes don't consider about self-destruct, is that it is a space creator. That's what tanks are designed for, and that's exactly what that ultimate does. But if you can net a few kills with it as well, why wouldn't you?
It creates, yeah, it is a space creator. You have a choice. You either give them the space or you die and you give the space anyway.
Exactly.
The ultimate catch-22 for the tank. So next match coming up on your screen, one that I'm very excited for, Germany versus UK is going to be coming up very shortly.
Going to be a real exciting one as well, because Germany append is one of those teams that could potentially take one of these top spots. And the UK, as we've seen in previous years, they are one of the top teams fighting through this group. And I think many analysts have penned it and said that it's France and UK leaving this group. But the Netherlands and Germany, you can't ignore them potentially fighting for those top spots too.
I mean, also, like, there's no bias here as well, obviously.
Obviously
We're going
not.
to say it's going to be a fair match, and I'm sure your casters for the match will be unbiased in that matchup as well.
It's going to be an interesting one for sure. But we will be back with that match in just a few minutes. We'll cut to a quick break, guys. Don't go anywhere. You're going to want to catch this second series of the day.